I bet you've put a lot of time into thinking about employee happiness. That's great. But today we're going to talk about workplace fulfillment on Culture Builder Live. Hey, I am Chris Wink. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Technically, a news organization with a community of technologists and entrepreneurs. This is Culture Builder Live, where we have weekly conversations about building better companies. Last 15 years or so, we've done a lot of reporting about how companies focus on workplace happiness, how engaged are teammates. I was addressed by my guest today, talking about workplace fulfillment as a nuance to that conversation. Shauna Hawking, principal at Hawking Leadership. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Chris.
I appreciate it. So we're gonna dive into a few different words that have subtle nuance in how you might engage with teammates and how you do team building around it. Um, Shauna, you're a vet of, I know you as a vet of higher ed and a lot of large institutions. So you've led teams and done a lot of team building. So this all is stuff you've dealt with quite a bit. So fulfillment versus happiness. You're not saying can't be happy, but you're just saying put fulfillment as a first principle. Start me off. What's the nuance here? Why are you talking about fulfillment among teammates first as opposed to happiness first?
Well, first, I want to say I do love happiness. I love feeling
Yes,
happy. I love
you're not
being
anti-happy.
so that's great. I think it's important to focus on fulfillment instead because managers can get, they can get frustrated that they're not keeping their employees happy all of the time. And it's not necessarily our job to do that. What our job is to help employees feel fulfilled by their work, to feel connected to their work and connected to their colleagues. And in turn, this will increase both productivity and performance over the long term.
I actually can think of speaking to a teammate years back when I was totally this manager who was very fixated on happiness, 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 and was like, why aren't you happy? And at some point, you say, like, dude, like I got stuff in the rest of my life that's not going the way I want. That has nothing to do with this place, but I'm not totally happy. That ain't what I'm here for. I'm here for the work, and I'm enjoying that work. Like basically, like back off, man. So that's some of what you're speaking about.
Yes, it is. And I too was the manager for many years who wanted to help people feel happy in their work. And one of the things I realized, Chris, was that what made happiness for me was very different than what it would make for one of your team members, just like the example that you gave. And so it was my job to really understand what motivated my team members, what was
Mm.
important to them. And then instead of helping them feel happy about it, it was to connect it to the work, to connect it to their daily life, and then help them make progress in those important things, which in turn led to fulfillment.
So when you and I were first talking about this, you said a couple points that stuck with me. You said happiness can be fleeting. That happiness can be it almost has a little bit of a there's a light connotation. The word happiness, it does feel fleeting. Once you said that did, the way we use that word, makes sense to me. Um, but so then I drifted and assumed you meant, well, we have to find this deep meaning. And so I immediately said, well, I don't know. I've talked to a whole lot of technologists, tech workers, and other professionals who wouldn't feel like their work at XYZ, widget company gives them a lot of meaning. And you gave me some pushback of there being a difference here between fulfillment and meaning. So talk to me a little bit about your nuance in fulfillment being different than perhaps meaning or purpose, and how those words interact.
Yes. So fulfillment, as I'm thinking about it, is how are we using your strengths at work? How do you feel valued for the work that you do? Who are you doing this work with, and do you enjoy them? And how are you making progress in that work? And I certainly hope that you have meaning in the work that you do every day. Whether or not that's realistic, or whether we put too much stock into what work does for us, each of those elements of fulfillment should be attainable. And it's my job as a manager to help you identify and feel that.
You touched on a point that definitely comes to my mind a lot. Whether we ask too much of work, I have watched through the years in a lot of great outcomes, increasing demand, particularly among tech employers who were trying to attract and retain the most coveted and limited professionals out there. The stakes continue to grow, um, and I've talked to folks who I think almost felt like they got to the end of the rainbow and found, well, yes, there's a basket of avocados in the office, but at some point, like that only gets me so far. And that has made me think a lot lately in reporting and writing I've done about whether, man, like just look, it's a job, man. Like we're not going to answer all of your questions, but that might seem, too limited of me. So talk a little bit more about yeah, do we put too much stock? Is the fact that you're saying like we have to now I have to tell employees you have to make sure your employees are fulfilled. Would they say like, Shauna, I got too many things to handle. You now I got to make sure everyone's fulfilled. Do we put too much demand on work?
I think the job of a middle manager is a lot. I think that we, particularly in the environment that we're in right now, that it is a big job to be responsible for another person's well-being, fulfillment, paycheck, and still this should be why we do the work. Now, I don't think your work should be everything for you. And I spent a lifetime thinking that my job title was who I was. But I think that the opportunity is if I'm saying I want to be a manager, then I also have a responsibility to create the kind of environment where my employees can thrive. And I think that this element of it, when the world is falling apart and things are very hard, can I help them feel like they made progress today? Can I help them feel like they applied their strengths? Can I help them feel like I recognize them for what they did? If so, then I am here to serve, and this is my purpose too as a manager. But work doesn't have to be everything. Chris, we were talking about how there's so many different ways to use our strengths and find fulfillment, whether that's volunteering for an organization that's important to you, or working with an industry association and being a part of that. I mean, work doesn't have to be everything, and yet we're there a lot of our time. So like, let's put a little bit of effort into this to see if we can pull this off.
I particularly like your note of this can be in some sense part of the fulfillment for the manager is some of what I heard you say that, the manager, like, I feel fulfilled by helping my teammates both get work done, reach our organizational goals while also reaching their individual goals. And I have to say, actually, I think when you put it like that, that connects for me. I think that's something that I find fulfilling. How do I match an organization's needs with people's needs? That strikes me as interesting and powerful. That's fulfilling for me as a teammate that we want to match that. So that connects. So let's move here in our last few minutes to this in practice. You have, as noted, worked in an array of large organizations. So you've seen this play out in good and bad, I'm sure. So let's say you and me, I report to you and we're talking and you're like, dude, what's going on? And I'm like, man, come on. We make one button talk to another button. This isn't like my place for fulfillment, but I'm happy. We got team trivia tonight. I'm excited about that. That's cool. I enjoy that. I got, we got a brown bag lunch thing we're doing tomorrow. We're doing a show and tell. Like those activities I think are fun. I like who I work with. We joke, we send memes to each other. I'm on Slack. I enjoy it and I do a good job, but I'm not like fulfilled by my work. We're in a dynamic of one-on-one. What are you saying to me to help me get on track? And can you help me get to fulfillment as a manager, do you think?
Yeah. So Chris, I'm delighted that you're enjoying all of the team building activities that we've put into place, the trivia, the lunch and learn. We do work really hard to figure out what's important to you and all of our team members to help them feel connected to each other. And I'm hearing that this is an element of the work that is fulfilling for you, your connections with your teammates. I wanted to see if you would be open to mentoring and onboarding our new staff. As we think about the growth of our company, this next generation of employees that we hire will be really important to our success. And I would love to use your particular strengths in, finding joy and connecting with your colleagues to help our newest employees feel that joy and connection as well.
Yeah, I see. Like the course you just charted there in that hypothetical is, hey, I have this theoretical organizational need. Of course, I need people to help get folks acclimated. We know from lots of research, actually, that there's a real danger period in that 90-day period where someone starts an organization and feels lost. So in your mind, Shauna, that is kind of always an organizational challenge. And I have in front of me a teammate that is perhaps doing a fine job. Maybe they're not at their fullest capacity, but maybe they're a fine high performer, but they're like maybe a little bored. You're kind of matching need, which again goes back to this theme that I think is interesting of organizational need and what drives individuals. And as a great manager, how are you kind of constantly meeting that until perhaps you say, look, what the organization needs and what you need are just too different at this stage. And that's when, there could be a very healthy departure.
Yeah.
Is that kind of, what else is standing out to you when that situation runs through your mind?
Well, I heard a couple of elements when you were talking about that. For a manager, I love helping to solve that organizational and individual. And that's, again, where I would find my fulfillment. It sounds like that's where you find your fulfillment. And maybe in that conversation, you reveal to me something else that you have heard about that's happening in the company, or something else that you want to learn about or work on. And so what I'm doing is I'm initiating a conversation and I'm listening so that I can really try to figure out how to put those important pieces together. And at some point, yes, it is possible that this will not be where you stay forever. I don't expect that out of you, but it is my job up until that point to help continually find opportunities for you to choose to feel fulfilled at our company.
Do you, I'm going to lose here in a minute, but have you found any small behaviors or anything, any ways you've picked up on or try to understand when is a teammate happy versus fulfilled, or vice versa? Like, could someone be somewhat unhappy but fulfilled, and could someone be happy but not fulfilled? And are there like little glimmers that you've seen in the past to differentiate the two?
Yes, this is like an existential question of, leadership with fulfillment and happiness, and what the overlap is. I think if someone is able to demonstrate that they are celebrating their wins and making progress, this may not be their everything, but they are finding ways to move forward each day. And I think that overlap is what I would be looking for, because that's really what every one of those incremental wins is what will get us to our goals in the long term.
Shauna Hawking, principal at Hawking Leadership. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks so much for the opportunity. Great conversation.
I appreciate it, Shauna. We'll see you next time. This has been Culture Builder Live, conversations on building better companies. We're talking today about how we manage fulfillment alongside happiness. Right here, there should be additional videos to check out from past Culture Builder Live interviews. We'll make sure to drop links below to Shauna's work in addition to the full recap on Technically. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.